Just a moment. And you are live.
Morning, everyone. It's nice to finally meet you.
Morning.
Good morning.
So I think I'm the appointed staff liaison and probably the guide. I know that Faye's had a lot of experience already. And I welcome her expertise in this. Maybe the first thing to do is to go around and introduce ourselves to each other. So we have a better sense. I know that the appointments were made by council members according to ward assignments. But overall, good morning.
Good morning.
Overall, I think that the goal here is kind of a condensed one, as we know. There's an expectation of getting a report to the council by February the 4th. I'm going to help you every possible way I can to make sure that's something you can do efficiently and together. And any information that I can provide to try and turn that around very quickly for you all. So again, I'm Tricia Hopkins. I'm the Human Resources Manager. I've been with the city through a salary review commission change in the past. This is not my first time around. I've been with the city approaching 12 years. So this is maybe the third cycle I've had a role in. And so I hope that I can help you through it all. Who'd like to start?
I'll go ahead if that's fine then. Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you all. Glad to be serving with you on this commission. I was appointed out of Ward 8. Ross Arnett is my alder person. I had been on the Annapolis Charter Review Commission several years back, so I have a little bit of experience in that regard, but otherwise never served on a commission like this for salary review, but I'm looking forward to it. Currently, I am running a trade association for people in the packaging business, and excited to be here. Happy to do what we can. I will add one quick note. I did ask my older person, Mr. Arnett, if he could find a way to squeeze us out a few extra days. And I think he wrote a note, but we'll see. We'll get it done.
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks.
Stu Cohen. Hi, everybody. I'm in Ward 1. I'm also treasurer, I should disclose, for Gavin, Friends of Gavin Buckley, which is on its last legs since he will not be up for re-election. And I'm a recovering attorney and have never done anything like this before. But I have talked to my alderperson, or well, I've communicated with Harry Huntley, our alderperson, who just like Paul and Ross, agrees that if necessary, they'll find a way to give us some more time, or they'll try to find a way to give us more time.
Well, I would like to go next. Good morning, everyone. Some faces I know very well. I look forward again to serving on this commission. I think this would be my 4th commission, which comes every 4 years. I'm Faye Curry. I'm a vice president out of Arundel Federal Savings Bank. I've been in banking since the mid-'80s, so that does date me, but I truly enjoy anything fiscal responsibility. I will disclose, thanks to you, Mr. Cohen, I am the treasurer for Sealiff and Layson. And at some point, all 5 of the 8 city council people banked with me. That's not the current figure, but I'm very bipartisan. So I look forward to serving on this commission, and I am Ward 7. So thank you so very much.
Good morning. My name is Barb Chenault. Rhonda Pendow Charles is my alderperson, and I am in Ward 3. I'm excited and looking forward to working with everyone.
Good morning. I'm Sienna Scott. I live in Ward 5. My alderman is Brooke Schandelmeyer. I am retired from the Maryland General Assembly. I worked for the Anne Arundel County delegation. And my long-term job, 35 years, was with Nationwide Insurance. we moved to Annapolis in 1979 because of Nationwide. So I'm happy to be here. This is the first commission that, it's not the first commission I've served on, but the first salary commission. And having administered salaries at Nationwide, I'm very interested in this process.
Well, I'm really excited to hear the dialogue that happens between you all. I wanted to make sure I was responsive early on and provided you some survey data that I'd gotten by participating in the City of Frederick's effort. I think that streamlines a lot of this and gives us information to start from. In my past experience with the commission, of course, it's really flavored more by the members and, you know, what you pursue and what you'd like to have. But it's clear that your charge is to review and make recommendations for any compensation changes that may be within your realm of recommending to the council for action, for council members' salary, for the incoming council, not for the current council, for the mayor. And then I'd like to talk you through some of what we're hearing around city manager pay. We just completed a citywide, or we're in the implementation stage of a citywide classification and compensation study. As part of that, they looked at city manager pay as well, so I can provide that to you. But the biggest takeaway from that experience was that the city manager's pay isn't set by law in most jurisdictions. And so one of the challenges that we've had around city manager compensation here at the city is having the ability to make changes to all pay ranges for all city employees, either through labor negotiations or through compensation studies. What we're finding is that it's hard to keep the city manager in the right relationship in terms of pay compared to those supervised by the city manager. Elected officials like the mayor's salary, council members, that is very typically set in a process like this, but I want to be able to carry back to you that information around city manager pay, because that may influence what you do in your recommendations going forward in the report. That would ultimately change the way we look at compensation for our city manager. I obviously understand that part of the process includes having a chair. There needs to be probably at this meeting the choice or the selection of a chair. What has happened in the past is that chairperson has actually been the one that presents the report to the council and is the chief spokesperson for the group. So that's a role separate and apart from your membership by ward. And that is something that within the group you would necessarily consider how you're going to put the report together. Meaning, are you going to have representative voices in that? Or are you going to do a summary of your collective work? And is that going to lead to specific recommendations that ultimately change by ordinance what goes in the city code? And so that's where it would finally rest. The recommendations would be implemented by maybe not making changes to our law that it must be voted upon by the legislative body here. The council members, as I said, current council members are not going to benefit from the recommendations of the Salary Review Commission unless they were reelected, and that's only because they're coming into the next group of people who will be our elected leaders. We don't have term limits here at the city, so we know that we have some members, and Faye knows this well. We probably have some members that have been through all of your commission time, but that is only because they got reelected, not because they're benefiting from the changes or the recommended changes that you make. So the implementation date is coincident with the start of the next administration. We know that for the mayor, Mayor Buckley, that he's in the and he's made it clear he's in his final year of his second term, and he will not benefit from any changes at all. Again, this is only prescriptive for those that may seek and receive re-election in the next cycle of leadership. Did we lose somebody?
No, they just moved around.
Okay. Faye, did you have something you would like to offer? I see your
Yes,
hands
thank
up.
you very much for that update. A little housekeeping.
Mhm.
In the past, those of us on the commission receive a letter signed by the mayor that we have been appointed, or an email in the email format. I would welcome that. In determining our leadership, I would like to make sure, please, I do not want to be nominated in that role, even though I may be seasoned. It may be a conflict of interest due to the fact that Sheila Finlayson is an older person currently. But I want to be a fair and objective.
Mhm.
And so I think, I'm not saying that would be the case, but I just want to withdraw my name from being in that role.
Okay.
So thank you. So we can be fair and objective, and everybody say we analyze things in the best possible solution. So thank you very much for hearing that.
I appreciate that, Faye. I honor that.
This is Stu, and I've just been thinking about the process, and I'd like to propose that we delay selecting a chairperson until after we've met for 1 or 2 sessions, so we get to know each other. I don't think it's urgent to have a chairperson until the end, tell you the truth.
Well, I would say that the important piece of that is when minutes are issued, because we do need to publish minutes. Because this is a formal and clearly we're in a public meeting. So one of the elements of that is the chairperson signing off on the minutes that are published, that it's actually coming from the chair as a representative of the group.
So we couldn't all sign off on that. I know it might be cumbersome for us all to review and respond promptly, but I would suggest that's a great idea, Mr. Cohen, that we land with someone, unless someone's willing to step forward and we vote at this point. But you're right. We respectfully do not know each other well enough to know who may be very great with that role.
Okay.
So,
well, I thank you. I think what I'd like to do is double check that with the Office of Law. If you're okay with that. It doesn't mean we can't have email communication to get us there. And, we're talking about probably having to step up our meeting schedule anyway. It's not like we're letting a month go by before we're coming back together. We know we're in kind of an urgent timeline here. So I don't think that's going to be as impactful if we had stretched this out.
Tricia, you raised something interesting though. Are you the one who prepares the minutes or the minutes of the meeting?
Generally not. I can try to do that in this first meeting for you all. And I'll try to, I think the important part is that we capture things briefly. I don't think it's necessary that we have great detail in that, but that we at least have an outline of what was handled in the meetings. I don't think it's a time to then identify what you feel you've landed on. I think that can all be held in the report.
Great.
I don't mind keeping just basic minutes for at least this first meeting.
Okay.
Happy to do that, actually.
Thanks, Paul.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure. As long as you don't have to be treasurer. It's
I don't think there's anything
the
you
worst
have to worry
job.
about there.
Who knows that? It's the worst job ever.
I would pounce on being a treasurer.
You see, it's already, everything's all taken care of already.
We have an
Well, unless you're collecting coffee money, I don't know what
we have an unlimited budget
that.
of zero.
It's without limit, right?
Yeah,
You're not voting to improve it by 100% or anything like
Well, maybe a couple 100%, you know.
that.
Tricia, I
Okay.
really appreciated you getting all that information out. And I've looked it all over. I may have not quite captured what happened. I saw the report from the last commission. What did the council do with that report?
So when the report is delivered, the recommendations will be reviewed by the Office of Law. They will determine if there are any changes that are recommended that will alter the code. And then an ordinance is prepared for the council to vote upon. All of this has to occur before the change of administration. That's why there's the February 4th deadline to give time for the administrative process to go through the legislative process. And for us, because it's an election year, we have a shortened elections or a legislative cycle. You know, so the council's off in August. You want to get things completed before they go on their August break. So that's really what you're up against.
My question was, what did the council do after the last report 4 years ago? Did they adopt it or?
They did.
Oh, okay.
They did.
And I also noticed that one of the things the commission did last time was they invited all the current alder people and mayor to submit comments or come and visit with the commission.
Mhm. Mhm.
That sounds like a great idea to me.
I second.
So under the open meetings law, I'm trying to remember how this occurred 4 years ago. Most likely it will be individual council members you'll need to meet with. And you can do so without violating the open meetings law as long as there's not a quorum. And what you might consider doing is maybe designate some individuals or maybe do it, since we have most of the wards represented here, that you talk to your council member. Just an idea. I'm not suggesting that's the way you go. I'm just throwing out ideas.
Just a
And
comment.
gather or create a format in which you solicit their input, you know, in a kind of a question and answer format, maybe.
Do just a comment on that. For the charter review group, what we did almost exactly what Tricia is suggesting, and it worked out pretty well. And we had a tight timeline too, and for that solicitations effort. So we just sort of divided everybody up. You know, you get your own alder person, and then somebody else gets another alder person, whoever that is, and then you go chat with them. You know, you would be, for example, a great person to go chat with the mayor, just for instance, and then took notes and reported back to the meeting, because it's, you know, we're not talking about too much information really, and it can get done quickly.
As you can see, most of the elements are, what's the compensation level, and then are you providing any other kinds of support? Like the council has a budget for their phone and reproduction of document, whatever is their kind of their office support level funds, training, whatever that might be. So those, it's kind of what's coming to you in the form of pay or compensation, and what's coming to you in the form of admin expense account, maybe is the better way to say that.
Yeah, because the last time they increased the expense from like 15 to 2,000. I may be a little off on my figures, but that was part of what they recommended. But Faye, can I ask you, since you've served before, do you remember how you handled the alder people and mayor?
Certainly. In the past, we had more time, and they were able to come into the conference room on Gorman Street as they wanted to individually, and come have one meeting was set aside for that. But we do not have that time to allow that. So may I ask the question also? The gentleman that is not here, what ward does he represent? Or she? It's a he, correct?
Brandon Wright.
Right. What ward?
I think he's Ward 2.
So with that being said, great idea, Mr. Rankin. How about, I would like to do Ward 7, which is Rob, and Ward 4, I'll take Sheila, and have those conversations about, and bring that back. And since I'm speaking, looks like we're probably gonna have to meet twice a week, maybe even Thursday. I don't know what everybody's schedule, because I haven't been informed as to the reason for this tight window, but we want to do a successful job at approaching this topic. So if that's okay with everyone, I will take Ward 7 and 4 and suggest that we meet again Thursday morning if everybody's schedule permits, or whatever time anyone else thinks is a good time to meet. So we can at least get a couple good, strong meetings in before the recommendation. So anybody else's thoughts on that?
Yes, Paul, I mean, I guess since it was semi my idea, I like what it was, what a great idea. No, I'm kidding. That would be great. I certainly can do Ward 8. In fact, I've already started talking with Ross, just asking him. So I'm happy to do Ward 8 and anything else that's left at the end of this divvying up process.
Well, I'm happy to do Ward 1, and I'm also happy to approach the mayor and get his input.
All right, so we got 1, 7, 1, 4, 7, and 8. So we need 2, 3, and 6.
I think you're,
Right?
we have 5 with Sienna.
And I will take 5, and I'd be happy to take another.
I think 6 is missing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And Ward, so that's great. So Sienna, you're 5 and 6.
I'll take 5 and 6, sure.
Okay.
Barb?
Yes, I'll do 3.
So Barb does 3. So we're only missing 2, I think.
That would be Brandon.
That'll be Brandon?
Mhm.
Perfect. So just to reiterate, not in order. So I've got Faye, you're doing 7 and 4. Paul Rankin's doing 8. Stu, you're doing 1 and the mayor. Sienna, you're doing 5 and 6. Barb, you're doing 3. Brandon will do 2.
That's great.
That's
And so that raises 2 questions I have. One is, Tricia, can you talk to the city attorney about, since Paul and I have approached our council people and they seem pretty willing to figure out an extension, but the time is set in the city code, so I'm not sure, is the city city council able to extend the time legally?
I think by the time you have the council change the deadline legislatively, you're past the deadline.
Yes.
I feel professionally, I feel that's the answer you're gonna get.
Okay. I'm willing to accept that.
Yeah.
So then, Faye, I hope you don't mind. Please call me Stu.
I went to Catholic school. I have a fear of authority. So. I'm just joking. No. All right, sir. Yes, gladly.
I did it.
Mr.
So.
Now it's Mr. Stu.
Oh, that's great. what time limit are we gonna set our having our conversations?
You mean,
We can
Well-
do them by
meeting?
Thursday. I mean,
By
all of
Thursday.
us have very good relationships, I believe, with the older persons. If we do it as immediate charge, we could probably, if we decide to meet again this week, I don't want to make that assumption. That next meeting we have that input from them would be very welcome, because I do believe I can speak that I probably could have a Rob and Sheila. I could probably get a hold of them fairly quickly today, but I don't know anybody else. So, and I think you got the mayor on speed dial.
No, you know, he's not the most responsive
Oh,
replier, so
I recommend that you contact his chief of staff, Kate.
I will reach out to Kate, yes.
Yeah.
And
That will-
I know, I can get Ross to give us something, by, what are we at? We're the 25th, by Thursday, certainly.
So you might want to consider if there's something you want to make sure you ask.
Yeah, I would-
As a group, just what top, so there's some consistency across the feedback.
in the past, we would ask them how much of their personal expenses is it costing them to do the role of alderperson.
You mean,
Excuse me,
Sarah,
do
you-
they think their current compensation adequately addresses their needs to serve the community? Some of the, another question was, what would they think it would take for someone in the community to take on the role that they've taken on? Would the compensation we provide be sufficient? They speak objectively usually when you ask them about, the admin of the city, what they provide. There's a lot of admin resources they have. Does that handle
Excuse me,
their
Faye.
needs? Because I think we came up with an expense that they could use for education. I know they have conferences they go to as well. So that's where along the lines of questions we ask them, or and any at the end, any pros or cons they like to offer us as the commission to make a determination if we need to reevaluate what they currently get compensated as. The important thing is to stress it was not meant to be a source of income that you can live off of, obviously, as alderpersons. That hasn't always been clear. But if it's usually a great role for someone has a strong source of other income or retired source of income. So that's kind of been the mindset of the older person, but it doesn't deny someone young who we've had who step into the role, but it's not meant to be a life-sustaining position as older person. The mayor, I can't really speak on, but that's all I really offer from the past. It keeps coming up about the expenses associated with serving the community. That's risen to the top in a couple of commissions.
So just, this Paul again, so just so we get our terms straight, because they're not actually always used the same way in a lot of these documents.
Certainly.
We're talking, so compensation equals pay, right?
Mhm.
And then what do we call the other stuff? They're called, comp and what? What's the other word, Stu?
Is it expense?
Expense
Uh,
associated with
allowable-
serving the community.
Expenses are,
All right, so it's going to be, so the first question is, what are you thinking about compensation? Another question is, what do you think about expenses? And as Faye laid out, right?
Mhm.
How much you're actually going to get paid? What do you think about the expenses? Is there anything other than, can we go beyond, because do expenses include things like, does the city buy you a computer? Or do they pay your phone bill? Does that get thrown into the mix as well, or is that?
Trisha, you can share what they get as older persons.
Yeah, I mean, they're not expected, well, they're not provided a city phone. they're provided an iPad that allows them to access all the legislative information through Granicus, and of course, they can use it for other purposes. We have office space for them, which generally is not really highly used. It's it's there for them. It's not a separate office per ward. It's more set up as an open space with carols, or however you describe open office area. But again, generally they're operating from their home. I would expect that however they handle that through their own personal accountants' advice and guidance is not something the city's providing either. The expense account went from must turn in receipts to here's an amount of money that should be able to cover your expenses. So as Faye said, providing responses to those questions around, is this meeting your needs, is a very appropriate thing to ask, because we're making an assumption that it's enough by what was voted on, but I really, on reflection, don't know how they individually determine the impact of that or not.
And with the office space, they get the opportunity to use Xerox machines, things
Yes.
of that nature. So it used to be that we were hearing that the cartridges and the paper and the serve back then and now, if they wanted to put any notifications in their wards, but that cost got absorbed by the city's expense if they come and utilize the office space within the city hall. So those of you who have not been on the commission, you may hear that, but that was the goal of the office space, that you could come in and use resources.
So now for us, we've got a badge system. We've got an ID badge that also accesses the building and accesses our printers. So regardless of where you are, it will be recorded that that's what you've done. I'm not sure whose budget it's absorbed in. It may be in the mayor's budget. But their expenses around that are absorbed. If they need to provide copies of things, be provided copies of things, usually that's handled by the city council associate who's in the office of law in terms of assignment. And so my assumption is that the office of law, when there are documents that are produced and provided to the council, that's where it's coming from. It's probably coming from that. In many cases, if there's a presentation made from a department, they're going to make those copies in their own budget and provide them to council for reference. So a lot of those expenses over and above that, I don't really have an inside view of, so that wouldn't be an unreasonable question to drill down on, how is what you need to produce handled for you?
Okay.
To get a sense of what you need to consider as covering their costs through the expense portion of this, and then what they actually need because it's not otherwise absorbed by the city.
Paul, did we cover all your terminology? You were going through your checklist.
I think so. So let me just go back over what I've got, and then please add or delete from a question standpoint. And I'll throw this onto a piece of paper and send it out to everybody. But so how first of all, what do you think of current compensation? Is that okay for mayor and for alderperson? Do you spend any of your own money? I think this was phased. Do you spend any of your own money currently on activities related to your job? Do you think the future, the pay scale, or whatever you want to call it, compensation, is adequate for future persons who hold the seat that you currently occupy? Do you need additional administrative expenses covered, which I think is what we were sort of talking about here, materials and the like? And if so, how much? And then lastly, I have, what is your view about the appropriate compensation for the city manager and benefits? And that raises actually another question for me, but we'll get to that in a minute. Was that everything that you guys said?
I think that covers it. So we all know what to ask at the same time and
Yeah, and I'll write this,
Exactly.
I'll turn this into actual sentences and send them out to you.
May I offer
Great.
something?
Yeah.
So we talked about the city manager. The city manager is not one of the people that has been assigned for interview. That
Oh.
would probably be a reasonable thing to do as well.
Anybody know the city manager? I don't.
Well, maybe we should invite him to a meeting.
yeah, that's a great
Him
idea.
or her.
Yeah.
I love that idea.
So our city manager is Michael Malinoff. Mike has been in that role
A couple
in the
times,
past as
right?
well. So this is
Yeah.
not his first time around. I actually meet with him today. I think at 11. I'll mention something to him. He's been on medical leave recently, so I want to make sure that he feels that's something that he can do in the short time period. So I'll mention that to him and I'll report back to you guys by email. How's that?
Thank you.
I'd suggest not at the next meeting, but like the following week, if he's
Next week?
available. Yeah, because I think we're gonna have plenty to cover with all the reports that we've got coming in.
Okay. And in the meantime, what I'll also do for you is I alluded to the city's classification and compensation study and recommendations around city manager. I'll pull that part together and send
Great.
it to you so you have it for reference.
Okay.
And maybe that will help as well.
Trisha, you may want to share the city manager, what's required to be a city manager. It's a certain certification and and what we're paying for in that role. You may want to briefly touch that. Everybody might not know that.
Okay.
That I'm just it's so
Yeah.
it's a different animal altogether than any other compensation.
Yeah. So the city manager's duties are outlined in the city code and in the charter. And so I will provide that to you as well.
Thank you.
And then just a follow-up question, Tricia, did you, at what stage is the documents that are the documents that you're preparing for that study? Are you sort of draft final now, or I mean, how?
So we're in, the full report has been provided to the council.
Oh,
The council now has before them a resolution that deals with changes to titles and grade assignments for positions in the civil service. There's an ordinance before them to consider an executive pay scale, to make some other changes to the exempt service because that's kind of hardwired into the code. It can't be by resolution, it has to be by ordinance. So all the legislation is before the council now. It's gone through committee.
when you say executive pay scale,
That's for the directors,
okay.
director, executive leadership, those people that are confirmed by the council.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Trish, I have a question. Benefits other than salary. Can we get information on that
Yes.
also?
So the council
Retirement.
by law, the council has, and this is, some of this is state law because we're members of the Maryland State Retirement Service. The legislature at the state level changed that maybe 5 years ago, so that elected officials aren't required to join the Maryland State Retirement System. They can choose to join the Maryland State Retirement System. So that is really the only benefit per se that they're able to participate, unless they are voluntary benefits for which the city doesn't subsidize the benefit.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's going to be deferred compensation. You know, they can choose some of our I think they can choose some of our life insurance, supplemental life insurance, but I can provide you a list of them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do they get parking?
They do get parking. So yes, that is a good point.
Since parking is one of the biggest issues it seems in the world of Annapolis.
Yeah, and I think that parking even extends to the other garages, so.
I haven't proposed another question to them, and has to do with I'm curious how much time the alder people spend on their job. Can we add can we include a question to that effect, Paul?
Sure.
Excellent. And Sienna, that was a great idea about benefits. I like that. I didn't even know about that.
All right, so we're adding, how much time do you, when we're speaking to all the persons now, the mayor we can exclude, I guess, and also the city manager. How much time do you, alderperson, spend on your job? And then are there other benefits that you receive, I guess, and what are they? Something like that. Because they get, so all I've got is iPad, office expense, or office space, I should say, and expenses related there too, in terms of copying and so on, and then other benefits, because that would include parking. Yeah. Cool.
And I would say in that too, office support, do you have staff supports? Maybe that's the better way to put it, staff support.
Do they have that at all? Is there some actual staff support, or is that all just sort of catch-all,
There is a city council associate that was created and staffed years ago. And that person's name is Kaylin Jackson. And so they do have a person that's full-time that attends the committee meetings.
So if
That
I were,
person helps with scheduling, maybe not their events, but those things that are related to legislative support, she provides that.
and this is provided by the council
This is
itself?
provided as a paid staff member of the Office of Law that serves the council.
So how do you,
I can send her job description to you. Would that be
yeah, that'd be great. And
Okay.
I'm trying to frame the question. So, I mean, how do you use the current Office of Law provided staff support? Okay,
Which is called City Council Associate.
City Council Association.
Yeah.
Or utilize all the city resources available to you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm comfortable with where we are today.
I would second Faye's proposal for a Thursday meeting, but does that give us enough time to announce it?
We only need 24 hours to announce it, and I can work on that today. I'll contact our TV group and see if I can get a meeting set up. They're very responsive. I don't anticipate that's going to be an issue. It would be the same format.
Same time?
It could be-
Regretfully, I cannot do the same time. I have a branch managers meeting, but I'm an early riser. I don't know about anybody else.
I don't know.
I get up with the chickens. I could do actually earlier and just be at my branch managers meeting by 9 o'clock, but I defer to whatever the group. I'm sorry I suggested Thursday. Now
Well,
I can do it, but not at this exact time slot because
What-
I have to be at a manager's meeting.
I'm a little concerned, Stu, that are we gonna have enough time to get hold of everybody we need to get hold of by then? I mean, it's really basically 48 hours, not even.
Yeah,
Yeah, I could do
Yeah.
Friday also. Anytime Friday. Sorry about that.
I'd prefer Friday morning if at all possible, but I can do Thursday. So
I could do Friday morning.
I cannot do Friday morning. I can do Friday afternoon or late morning.
Okay,
okay.
I can do that as well.
I can do that also.
Friday works for me as well.
What's late morning, Stu, for you?
Say 11, I think. Just a sec, let me.
Lunch will be provided.
As long as you know where your refrigerator
Yeah,
is.
it's gotta be delivered, right?
Is that part of our 200% increase?
Oh. While he's doing that research,
I can do 11 o'clock Friday.
11? Okay, I can too.
I'm good with 11.
That's good for me.
Fisher, can you provide phone numbers for each other in case we have questions offline? Is that okay? Is that
As long as
possible?
everybody agrees to that, I can do.
I have no problem providing mine.
I'm good.
That's fine.
Good.
I'm good.
Okay, and I'll reach out to Brandon as well, make sure he's
Thank you.
comfortable. And then I'll have a spreadsheet with contact information that includes your email addresses, which you obviously already have.
Perfect. And put both of my email addresses if you don't mind, my work and
Okay, I'll double
personal.
check to see. I was provided them by Hillary Raftovich, so I'll double check
Thank you.
that has it on there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You know, I have talking about questions we could ask. We have two people who've announced that they're running for the mayor's position. Would it be of any value to reach out to them to talk about compensation?
I don't recommend it.
I worry about that because that's sort of almost a conflict of interest question.
Yeah. And in the past commission, that's why I upfront told, thank you, Stu, for saying that you were a treasurer. Previous in the commission, we were in the paper because one of the people on there was the political campaign manager for the running mayor. And it became like a little convoluted. So long as everything's clear up front and fair and objective, then I thank you. I discourage us talking to them. As for making an assumption, if it gets in the news that we're thinking they're going to get the role, one of the two or three or whoever it may be. But I remember being annoyed that I was in the paper because, and that person had to resign from the commission. That's the outcome, to not be a part of it. And that was, many years ago. So what we say and what we do can be in the paper. So that's my 10-cent opinion on that.
And one thing I would like to add to that, Faye, is that we're in a different format now. We used to meet in person and people could come and attend. Now that we are in a social media kind of environment where we're using YouTube and the city's Facebook page to broadcast live meetings, which are then recorded and then can go back and be viewed by people. It's just a different impact, I see. And it's just something to be mindful of as you conduct yourselves through this commission.
Just to,
Thank you.
so we understand, the agenda is published with a link to the Zoom, so anyone who wants to sit through the meeting could sit through the meeting.
Correct.
And
but-
it's the just as the state, anyone can go in and review the meeting after
Mhm.
the meeting has ended.
Yeah. And your goal, once again, your goal is focused on getting information from current members about their own experience for your decisions to inform how the next elected body is impacted. You're not asking questions about if you get reelected, what do you want to see happen? You're asking questions about the impact of their current experience to inform a decision of the commission for the next elected body.
That's a great phrase. I'm going to put that in. So almost every question is going to be to an older person. It's going to be based on your current experience. Do you?
Yeah.
I like the way that's phrased.
I mean, that is why it's conducted as a future impact, not as a current impact.
Great.
Should we ask something about, do they have any fiscal concerns about increasing any of these salaries? They're in the middle of a budget session or budget review or committee, or
You're actually completing this before the budget review begins. The mayor needs to introduce the budget in April. So you're completing your work ahead of the budget review. So, or presentation. So the impact is for my thought is, and I don't know if I'm 100% accurate on this, my thought is that it's to get ahead of a situation where we're in a scrambling to have money to cover it. It gets consideration in the development of the budget on the admin side.
Plus, Trish, can you just clarify, because I think Stuart raised an interesting point, but there is no reason, if there is a fiscal impact, substantive fiscal impact, our recommendations are not binding anyway, right?
Not binding.
Yeah.
It still
So-
requires council vote, and the council may say, you know what, I don't feel comfortable with this. Or they're enough that there's not a majority to carry it forward.
Okay.
That's still a potential.
I mean, we hope they are, but they're not binding. We hope they're taken, but they're not binding.
Right, correct.
I feel comfortable where we are today.
One final question. Meetings with the members that we will meet with individually. Is there any problem to do that by phone or by Zoom?
We wouldn't officially use our Zoom account with the city, like I wouldn't contact our TV group to set that up.
But I could use my
Internally, what
own.
we do distinguish in the city is we do Google Meet when it's one-on-one.
Okay,
And you can use whatever platform you want if you feel,
Okay.
make that arrangement. We wouldn't use I wouldn't contact any member of our TV group to set up an official meeting, because then it's a public meeting.
okay.
And the one-on-one does not meet
There's
the
no problem.
requirements of the public meetings law.
Okay.
And at least in our report some years ago, the only thing we did for these kinds of meetings, because we did the same, we kept them out of them being public meetings, as it were, because of the numbers of people who met. So it was just one-on-one or two-on-one at the most, I think, at the time. But we just reported when and to whom we talked, and that was it. And the outcome, obviously. Anything else? I guess maybe, are we done for today?
I think we've covered a lot.
So, so Paul, you're taking the minutes. Are you going to share them electronically then for?
I'm not sharing these with anybody.
Oh,
Uh,
this is a
first
good
thing I'm-
group. This is a good group.
First thing I will do is zip out those questions to
Okay.
everyone, so you have them
Thank you.
ASAP, and then yes,
Yes.
I'll draft up some minutes, sort of bullet point type minutes, and then send them
Perfect.
around to everybody. Please feel free to edit as you like. There's no worry about that. So
Oh,
I'll
thank
get
you
that
for
as soon as
doing
I
that.
can.
I'll make arrangements for the next meeting. And then, just one quick question is in terms of putting an agenda together for that meeting. It's probably going to be very similar in that you're going to choose a chair maybe at the next meeting, or are we going to just leave that open? But it will be to review the collected information, either through individual interviews or what I've agreed to provide. And I'll keep that bullet point as well and get it out 24 hours before, at least 24 hours ahead of the Friday goal of 11 a.m.
Also the bullet point about reviewing the materials you've submitted, you've
Okay,
supplied.
And job descriptions.
and the job description.
I'm assuming, Tricia, you have time to do all these things.
Well, I will make time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tricia.
Thank you very
welcome.
much.
I look at it this way. It's what support I would have provided you. I'm just loading it in together, right? I'm just going to give you as much as I can give you, as quickly as I can give you, and give you time to digest it.
Thanks, Trish.
But
Do we-
not a lot of time.
Well,
Yeah,
let me just ask, as the HR manager,
Mhm.
which is your title, correct?
It is currently.
Will you be providing us any advice on the ultimate question?
So I can provide you professional advice. I mean, I
Good.
have a considerable background in classification and compensation. I've been in this field. Somebody asked me the other day, and I kind of added up. I've been in this field for 45 years.
Wow.
So I have a lot of depth there, and I'd be happy to give you some feedback. I'm attempting to give you information from other jurisdictions. In the past, it was considerably more information like code citations and all of that. I don't know that it ultimately served this group that well. I think it's some fundamental questions that I can help guide you through and pull together information from other jurisdictions. I don't know that I have the time, to be honest with you, to go back and research their code citations and what those jurisdictions have done. I have had a massive spreadsheet before that, you had the language from the city of Bowie. You had specific information there. What I did find is that with regard to city manager pay, that very few jurisdictions put that down in the law. Very few jurisdictions set it up that way. Usually it was a negotiated pay rate based on funds available and the candidate of choice. And it depended on jurisdiction, whether that was negotiated with the council. It really depended on their form of government. If you have a strong mayor form of government, the mayor doesn't sit on the council. Obviously, that's a different employment arrangement. If you have a mayor that sits on the council, maybe it's more parties there. I think that's a conversation to have with the city manager. He's very educated in that area. Is a very active member of the International City Management Association, knows what has been done across the country relative to the form of government and compensation and the like. I will give you, as I said, I'll give you information that was gathered through the class and comp study, which I think will help too. But this is a long answer to the simple question was, can I get it all done? So I'm just offering to you, I'll do the best I can, but it depends on the depth that you want and whether I can really refresh the data that I got for this commission before.
So is there a spreadsheet in your magical spreadsheet of how the last 4 years compensation has a percentage, how it's been increased or stayed the same? Is there anything that has that cumulative knowledge?
Not
Okay,
together already.
okay, never, that.
I do have, going back for the years that I've been involved, I do have what the
Okay,
compensation is there, which is not so difficult. As Faye, as you remember, the last time around, we kind of shifted from it's just $12,500 to we're going to look at the CPI. We're going to add $1,000 and then apply the CPI on top of that. So that's what we do now. We are in a mode of, we're waiting for the release of the CPI for the calendar year of 2024, and then we'll apply that percent after the $1,000 has been applied to the rate of pay. So that's why it's variable during the course of this 4-year stint. If you did nothing, that would still be in place. So
okay, thank you.
I will say that the Frederick report that you shared with us, I thought was as much information as we might need in terms of other jurisdictions.
thank you.
You know, I have no experience in this, but it seemed adequate to me.
Yeah. What I've seen, if you want some feedback now, what I've seen is it really varies quite a bit across jurisdictions, and it could just be that it's that heavy political influence over what do you want to provide? You know, as Faye said, it's typically been this expectation that this isn't your primary source of income, you know, that you are a part-time elected official. It's just that over time, it's whether we shift to recognizing it's become more and more time intensive to handle that. So you might want to ask some retrospective kind of a look back from the council members as to, in your experience, have you seen your investment of time to shift at all? You know, is it growing? Is it shrinking? Is the expectation different than it has been? Is your ability to do so impacted by time?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's
And also I would take a look too, when you look at what a mayor is paid, is whether that mayor is expected to be, I don't know that there's anybody can be just ceremonial, but you know, what is behind the mayor? You know, is the mayor a part-time mayor? Is there a strong administrator who's really handling the day-to-day? And what's the role of the mayor, expectation of the mayor in that as well?
And I have a question there. Is that defined in law? The expectation that the mayor is
Yeah, so you want to look at the charter, the city charter. If you want me to provide a link to that, it's very easy. If you go to the city website and go to I think government is the tab, and then city code is its own tab in there. You want to look at both the charter and the code, and you could just simply look up mayor. You get everything, a whole bunch of stuff, but mayor's duties or something like that, you might get there pretty quickly. But it's labeled in both the charter and the code.
Thank you.
As well as the council members' duties and responsibilities.
Actually, you just have given me a thought. Instead of me interviewing Gavin, I think it would be appropriate for him to participate in a meeting just like the city manager. What do other people think?
Yeah, I think because he's the lion's share of the compensation, the two of them. They are the compensation, really. So I agree that he would have some great insight there and objective at this point. Past knowledge. I think I'd welcome having that conversation.
Yeah, I would too. If he's
I
willing to-
would also.
But we're not talking about this coming meeting, right? We're talking about
No.
the-
No.
No, actually, so the second part of that is that Tricia if you could find out the availability of both the city manager and the mayor for next week, so we can then schedule our meetings around their availability. Would that make sense?
Absolutely.
So it would be helpful to me if any individual member has like blackout time, like I just can't possibly do the following times. That would be helpful to me, so I won't encourage a meeting at a time that may be a conflict for members.
You want us just to email you?
Yes, that'd be great.
Oh, okay.
We
Will
can,
do.
yeah, what about just setting up our next, so we have a Friday meeting. What about just setting up a meeting? And you can give the mayor and the council member a date and then change that if need be. In other words, let's just say, let's meet on the 28th at 8 in the morning. And if they can make it, great. And if they can't, we'll figure it out from there. But at least they have it, something set in stone. Tricia would have something set in stone to ask them.
Right, right. I'm assuming you're not asking them to meet at the same time with you.
No,
Right, okay.
You want to go with Tuesday at 8:30?
I'm good.
Tuesday, the 28th.
28th. I'd almost rather have, if possible, and this is by no means set in stone, but I'd almost rather have the city manager first.
Okay,
And the reason I say that is, everyone, is because the city manager has a lot else. You know, he sees a lot broader in terms of staff and workloads and things like that. And then the mayor would be fabulous on top of that, I think.
You know, folks, I'm looking at my calendar. February 4th is what, 2 weeks from now?
Yes.
So I think we ought to schedule all of our meetings right now.
Fine by me.
Fine by me also.
that would be a good idea.
You want to do,
So we
Okay.
got,
what do y'all like for, so we got the 28th at 8:30. You guys like Fridays or Thursdays or what?
I'd go with like Thursday in case we, or Wednesday, you know. We
I
gotta
can't
move this
do-
along.
I can't do Tuesday and Wednesday, unfortunately, but I could do Thursday or Friday, the 30th or 31st.
You cannot do the 28th?
Yes, I can do the 28th,
Okay.
Tuesday, but I can't do the following day.
Friday the 31st works better for me.
What time?
Early.
Early.
I can do the 28th and the 31st as well.
I can't. When you say early, Tricia, is there-
Anything before noon, 12 noon works for me.
Me too.
on the 31st?
Yes.
Works for me.
Same time, 8:30, is that what you're thinking?
No, she said 12 noon.
Noon.
And I said
Yeah,
anything
sure.
before 12 noon.
Anything before is what yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Barb.
So 8:30?
It's easier to
Okay.
remember.
Good by me.
And
Works for me.
then, you know, the following week, we better do Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, we're theoretically going to have a report done. Could you, I know this sounds terrible to say, but what happens if we're a few days late?
We get
Uh,
scared. Our 200% goes down.
Does the world come crashing down, Tricia, or is it just, I mean, seriously?
I don't know how a violation would be carried out.
I think they'd put Stewart in jail, but not me.
And I would check with the Office of Law because I would think that then any recommendation that we make could be challenged to the nth degree
Great
Yeah.
point.
because it wasn't submitted on time.
Great point.
Yeah, we're better off getting in something
good.
on February 4th.
So could we say, the February 3rd and February 4th at 8:30 both days?
Yeah,
That will work for me as well.
and I am assuming then, based on what Sienna was saying, which is a great point, the close of business. So we have to have this thing done, written. And
I
in,
would suggest that the 4th is your final grammatical corrections.
yeah, okay. Yeah. Thanks, Sienna, that was a great point.
So
Same
ju-
time?
Sure.
Okay.
So just to review, the dates I've got are Friday, the 24th at 11, the 28th at 8:30, the 31st at 8:30, the February 3rd at 8:30, and February 4th at 8:30. And we're hoping that the city manager and mayor can be available on the morning of the 28th. Does anyone have an end time on the 28th?
Let me just check real quick. I don't think I do have a problem. Saying that this is the 28th, Stu?
Yeah,
So,
good.
our PEG studio is set it up for an hour and a half. Is that sufficient? For each of those days?
no, not if we're gonna do both the mayor and the manager on the 28th.
So that particular one would need to be longer. Okay.
Yeah.
2 hours?
I guess it depends on their schedule, doesn't it?
Which I don't know yet, so I need
Yeah.
to,
Well, we can decide that on Friday, right?
yes. I just want to make sure that we have the availability for the tech support. That's all. It's more
Thank-
about.
Yeah,
Is our commission appointment information on the website already?
We
currently?
created a page. There's a separate page for boards and
Oh.
commissions. The Salary Review Commission has its own page that has, and will have also the posts around your agendas, your meeting dates.
And it has our names and information?
It has your names. It does not have your contact information. It has
That-
my
please don't.
contact information.
That's why I'm asking.
Yes.
That's fine. I just wanted, as a resource and a reference for, the bank is being very generous and know the importance of this. So I just like it noted that this is going on within the city. But thank you very much.
Yeah,
Tricia.
there's
And
an
that
entire
letter would
page.
be very helpful as I mentioned initially.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, so
cool.
there's the pages there. It has a link to the legislation that established the commission. Again, just your names. It directs them to me if there's any questions as the staff liaison to your group. And then ultimately your report will be posted on there.
Okay,
great working with y'all.
thanks. This is great. Do we need a motion or anything like that? Or are we good to go?
Adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
Yeah. Second.
All in
Alright.
favor?
Yeah,
Bye.
Aye.
Thank you so much. See you
Thank
guys.
you.
See you
Very
soon.
nice meeting you all.
All right, I'll get that